Good morning, Flagler County. I'm Rich Carroll. You're listening to Flagler's Morning News on Monday, July 24th.
These cases are not your typical murder cases, a little bit more difficult to prove.
It was a stunning defeat for prosecutors. A jury has found a suspected drug dealer not guilty in connection with an overdose death in Flagler County. Nyshawn Giddens of Bunnell was acquitted last week of first-degree murder in the 2020 overdose death of 37-year-old Sean Callahan in Palm Coast. R.J. Larissa is the state attorney for the 7th Circuit.
Those cases are more difficult because sometimes you have a mixture of drugs and potentially different dealers who are providing drugs to an individual. And I think in that particular case, there was a question. There might have been more than one dealer who delivered drugs to this person, that they ingested the drugs and then passed away.
Larissa says while every case can't be a winner, it's important that they continue to prosecute alleged drug dealers involved in overdose deaths.
Because of the fentanyl crisis, because of the overdose deaths we're having, we have to find ways to try and stop or at least slow down the number of overdose deaths that are happening in our communities. And let me tell you, the drug dealers know that we come after them. There's a deterrent effect there.
Giddens' acquittal was a first of its kind in Flagler County. This local news is a service of Flagler County's Toyota dealer, Beaver Toyota US 1 St. Augustine, here to wow you.
It's been a hot debate with residents coming out against a half-cent sales tax increase in Flagler County. Flagler County Commission Chair Greg Hansen says the additional revenue raised by a half-cent sales tax would bring in at least $2.5 million that's needed for road improvements.
Some of the good sides are that we would eliminate the assessment charge on the Mondex, and we also wouldn't have to raise the millage rate. As a matter of fact, we might be able to reduce the millage rate, which is kind of what I want to do. But it solves our road paving problem, which is significant. We're $2.5 million short on keeping our roads paved in the county.
Hansen puts the amount that would be paid by residents and tourists alike in perspective.
Well, if you're not buying a boat or a car, it's probably about $6 to $7 a month. So it's not a big deal. But the comment to that is that we're going to reduce the millage rate, which might take it down $4 or $5 a month. So there's a trade-off. Anything we do is a trade-off. So all I'm saying at this point is we really need to look at it.
From the WNZF Newsroom, I'm Amy Cherry.
Flagler County Sheriff's deputies report a significant increase in 911 misdials, nearly doubling the numbers from the previous year. The spike is attributed to a recent Android update that includes an emergency SOS feature. The issue is not limited to Flagler County, as the National Emergency Number Association reported a 30% rise in call volumes nationwide, mostly linked to the same Android update. While the update is intended to enable quick access to emergency services, it has also inadvertently made it easier for people to accidentally trigger emergency calls. By pressing the power button on their phones 5 times, users unintentionally call 911, causing dispatchers to handle a substantial number of misdials. To mitigate the issue, the Sheriff's Office advises those who mistakenly dial 911 not to hang up, but rather stay on the line to confirm that there is no actual emergency. This saves valuable time for dispatchers and prevents unnecessary responses from emergency personnel. And to address the problem at its root, the Sheriff's Office urges Android users to disable the emergency SOS feature in their phone settings. A Flagler County Sheriff's Office staffer is honored.
Flagler County Sheriff's Office Communications Supervisor Heather Robinson has been selected for a prestigious title. Flagler County Sheriff Rick Staley.
We're extremely proud of Communications Supervisor Heather Robinson, who has been selected by APCO as the Supervisor of the Year for the entire country. APCO is an association that represents the 911 operators and dispatchers across America.
Heather will be recognized during the opening general session at APCO 2023, APCO's annual conference and expo taking place August 6th through the 9th in Nashville, Tennessee. For Flagler's Morning News, I'm Karen Johnson.
Did you know that Florida has the superior building code in the country?
Anna Maria Long is the executive director of the Flagler Home Builders Association. She said on a recent episode of Real Estate Matters that our building code withstands hurricane-force winds regularly.
It's the reason that houses built post-Hurricane Andrew don't get demolished anymore. They're still standing. They sustain some damage, but They're standing. The only demolishing we see of older homes.
Long said that the state's building code could change in October. You can listen to Real Estate Matters on Saturday mornings at 11 here on WNZF or on the Flagler radio app. Tomorrow, what building code could Florida be forced to use? From the WNZF newsroom, I'm Deb Albertson.
And now you're up to date on Flagler's Morning News. I'm Rich Carroll.
And now, Mike Licio with your WNZF local sports update.
The Women's World Cup is underway. The U.S. national team began their quest for 3 straight titles Friday night, which was Saturday afternoon in Auckland, New Zealand, where the match with Vietnam was played.
Trying to break through somewhere. Here it is. On the tips of Smith. Go!
Woman of the match, Sophia Smith, puts the U.S. up 1-0 in the 14th minute. Smith struck again in stoppage time before the half.
Ball floated up. Keeper out. Got a piece, not all. Shot taken, blocked, and it rolls in.
Lindsey Horan capped the scoring off in the 77th minute.
A bounce. Smith played it back. Horan settles, shoots. Finally for Lindsey Horan. 3rd time's the charm.
JP Dellacamera, Fox Sports on the calls. USA wins 3-0. Next up in pool play, the Netherlands, Wednesday. Baseball, the Miami Marlins 8-game losing streak ended in bizarre fashion. Miami entered Sunday in danger of being swept for the 3rd straight series. Tied 2-2 in the bottom of the 10th, Luis Ariz came to the plate with the bases loaded and 1 out.
The 1-1 offering. Line drive, right field. Nobody's home. Ariz with his first career walk-off.
Kyle Siloff, WINZ Radio. Turns out the only thing worse than bringing the infield in is having 5 infielders in. Colorado had shifted their right fielder to center and center fielder to the infield for the final play. Miami gets their first win in 14 days. They head to Tampa for 2 games beginning tomorrow. What about the Rays? They hosted Baltimore, hoping to avoid their 14th loss in 18 games and move back into a first-place tie with the O's.
O'Shea fires. O'Hearn out towards left field. It dings off the pole, and it's a home run for Ryan O'Hearn.
Melanie Newman, 98 Rock, Baltimore. O'Hearn's 8th home run of the year gave Baltimore a 4-3 lead en route to a 5-3 win. The Orioles are now 2 games ahead of Tampa in the AL East. Daytona wrapped up their series with Jupiter yesterday with a doubleheader. In the first game, Jupiter took their 4th win of the series, 7-1. The Tortugas salvaged a split, winning the second, 5-2. The Jacksonville Jaguars open training camp tomorrow. All 17 regular season games can be heard right here on WNZF. We are your home for local sports, with updates Mondays and Fridays. From the Sports Desk, I'm Mike Licio.